Hey, this is Mighty Monday, my Monday live that I get to do here on YouTube. And I am the host, Mae Renfroe, and I have another lovely guest again joining me for my Monday live. And I'm just excited about that. And excited for those that are hopefully going to be tuning in here live as we're doing it live or later. So this, I'm sure, is a great message and a real muddy Monday to get your week kicked off right. So with me this evening, my guest is Dr. Mary, and um, yeah, I'm excited. She's talking about one of the mental health and the importance of that, and she's the author of the book "I Am Black, I Do Not Get Depressed." So that's an interesting title. So I'm excited about you sharing that with us, Mary, and all of that behind it. So welcome to the show, and how are you this evening?
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I am doing well. So, my name is Dr. Mary. I am the author of I Am Black, I Do Not Get Depressed. It's my new memoir that just came out very recently. And the reason behind the title was I seriously did not think I could be depressed because I'm Black and I'm of African heritage. And I just felt that my genetic makeup exempted me from being depressed. So, despite being told that I was depressed by several doctors, I could not come to terms with it. I just thought I'm different, and I thought it was a disease that other people get.
Yeah.
And yeah, and especially with being I am born and raised in Kenya, and then I came to the US. There's this belief that we are strong and we are resilient, and so you almost celebrate resilience as like, oh no, I cannot get sick or I cannot feel a certain kind of way. And so for
Mhm.
me, that was like a really hard realization that, oh no, I am depressed. And it's okay to say that I'm depressed. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I remain depressed. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm not going to get healing and I don't have to hide under the cultural background or hide under the spiritual part of it. That it's okay. It's okay to say that I am depressed, but I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to claim my
Yeah.
healing and get my healing. So that's where the
Oh,
title
wow.
came about.
That's where that's neat. I like that you said that. So you kind of was in a place where you just felt that could never be me. I could never, and then but like, yeah, wow.
I know,
Well,
yeah,
so
it's very interesting because I work in the medical field, and so I treat a lot of
mm,
people with depression, and I believe in mental health, and I believed in prescribing antidepressants and therapy, but I personally felt I'm different, like I'm built
yeah.
different. And so when I came to that realization, I wanted to do a little bit more research. And when I was doing my dissertation, I was studying about mental health among African Americans or among the Black population and how we utilize mental health care, and came to realize that more than 90% of Black people or ethnic people will attribute their wellness to their spirituality. So we're heavily relying on spirituality for our mental wellness. Um, and therefore, it's really important for us to have discussions about mental wellness and mental illness. And so, as much as we are going to go to the church, as much as we are going to faith leaders to help us navigate these issues, not everything is faith based, right? So, you can have clinical depression, like in my case, it was postpartum that ended up being
Mm,
different things. So, that's
okay.
hormonal imbalance, right? It's a sickness.
Hmm.
And after some time, you get better. You go for therapy and you feel better and you get better. So
Hmm.
that's where all this came from.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I was going to ask kind of what caused it. Did you think what brought to that?
Yeah.
And then I went from Dr.
Yeah.
Postpadger.
Yeah.
Dr.
So
Bailey. So
yeah, go ahead.
how many children do you have? And
I have two boys. I have an 8 year
oh,
old and
okay.
I have a 6 year old.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and so actually, like that's part of my story. Like that's how everything came together. And I can share a little bit of my testimony if that's okay, about like a
Oh,
little bit of
yes.
my story. Yeah.
Yes,
So
please.
yeah, so this came about. I had the baby. First of all, it started off with me having a miscarriage, and me
Mm,
feeling like, oh my goodness, like how am I gonna handle this? And I just felt like my body had failed me, and the thing
mm,
that I was naturally supposed to do, I could not do. So like that
mhm,
kind of just opened up like feelings of inadequacy, and like how can my body even deal with this? And and then you come to the realization, the more you talk about things like miscarriages, every woman will be like, a lot of women, right, will be like, oh yeah, I went through the same thing. And statistics actually show that it's like one in every four
mhm,
women. So a lot of us go through
yeah,
these things, but we don't talk about it. And so when somebody goes through it, they feel very, very isolated, right?
mm,
Then I had
okay,
two little kids, and my younger kid, had some medical difficulties and some challenges. And so, yeah, that had, because we were just going to so many doctor's appointments back to back, seeing specialists, seeing gastroenterologists, seeing ophthalmologists, seeing cardiologists. Like it was just back to back from the time he was like
yeah,
2 weeks old. And that takes a toll on you. And as much as you think it's
mhm,
not, it does take a toll on you, on top of you
yeah,
having another little toddler, and then on top of you having to be like a career woman, because we carry so many things in our roles, right? You're a
yeah, yeah,
you're
we
a
do.
wife, you're a mother, you're an employer, you're an employee. So there's just a lot of things going on. And it just it was just really heavy on me. So actually the first person who identified and told me that I was suffering from clinical depression was actually my
Mhm,
pediatrician, my child's
mhm,
doctor. Because
yeah,
every
yeah,
time I will go
okay,
to, yeah, I will go to the office, and they will do the assessment in the office, and they
yeah,
were like,
yeah,
no, you need to go get help. And then my
mm,
gynecologist also pointed that out, and I remember being prescribed antidepressants and saying, no, I'm not gonna take that. I don't believe in that. I'm gonna pray it off. And when I would say like I'm not feeling well or I'm feeling sad, what I would hear will be, you need to pray more. What did you do? Why are you not fasting more? And so you
mhm,
kind of feel like you're being guilt tripped, and you're not doing
yeah,
enough, and you're not Christian enough. And so you end up isolating, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
yeah, that was a big chunk of my story. And yeah, the medical issues were just ongoing for like almost 2 years, where my son ended up having like a really huge surgery. But through it all, I saw God. And then eventually I did agree to do psychotherapy. And I went for therapy for a good almost 5 years. I was in therapy,
mm,
like
okay,
dealing with everything.
yeah,
That's when you realize like you have a lot of deep stuff that you need to deal with. And at the end of it all, now that I feel so free and so healed. And it wasn't just therapy, it was, yes, the prayer, the faith part of it, but also the action part of it, of me going and seeking help. And now that's what I want to do. I want to spread mental health awareness to everybody. I want everybody to feel this level of freedom and this level of healing, because it is
mhm,
possible. It is completely possible. Yeah.
yeah, oh, wow. So you do feel like the medication had plays the part too, right? And then just mental, like, keeping your mind healthy and strong. So it's right, you
Yeah, I
do there's
do.
okay.
I do feel that it's a two parts. It's a two part
Mhm,
thing. It's a two-part element. So the Bible talks
mhm,
about faith and action, right?
mhm,
So there is the role of faith. There is a role of praying and believing, and and calling out healing even when you're feeling sick. But there is the action part, where we need to take the steps of identifying, am I
mhm,
depressed, and going
yeah,
through that, like, and seeking the help, either seeing a therapist or seeing a psychologist or having a trusted friend. But we need that, because then we don't want to be losing so many people in our society to things like suicide and chronic
yes,
illnesses and disability, just because they've gotten so severely depressed that they can barely get out of bed. And, in my case, it was that functional depression, where you're still doing things, but you're just feeling completely dead and empty on the inside.
yeah,
And
okay, yeah,
you just, you lack even the joy of having your children, or the joy of your home. And so,
mhm,
yeah, it's two part. There is faith and
yeah,
action.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I was gonna say, so how is does someone know that they are depressed? Oh,
Yeah, like how
or
do you know
what
you're
you know.
depressed? Yeah, and that's very true. So
Like,
like
what is the time that you need that help to do,
I
you know?
know. And so, like clinically, I'm a nurse practitioner, and yes, I do live in Houston, so I practice medicine. That's my full time job and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
clinically, like if somebody comes to me, and this is something that everybody can do at home, so it's pretty easy, right, to even diagnose yourself. So there is a scale that we use for diagnosis, and it's called the PHQ-9. So PHQ-9, and some of the things that are in the scale is like what's your interest in doing things that you love. So let's say like you love cooking, or you love crocheting, or you love
Mhm.
watching certain television programs. If you measure over the last 2 weeks, what's your interest in that? So if you're losing interest in things that you
Mm.
previously enjoyed, something's off. It's
Okay.
not
Yeah,
necessarily that you're depressed, but something is off. Then
yeah.
are you having feelings of sadness? Are you having feelings of depression? Like, are you just feeling like you just don't want to wake up? Like, you just want to and this is over a period of 2 weeks. Like, how often have you been feeling hopeless? How often have you been feeling down? Because
Mhm.
there is a feeling of I'm sad because something sad happened to me, and that is completely okay. But when you're consistently sad over a period of 2 weeks, then you're headed towards clinical depression. The other thing is disturbance of sleep. So are you oversleeping or are you undersleeping? So some people will suffer from chronic insomnia, and they're like, what's
Mm,
going on? Why can't I sleep? You have racing thoughts. You're consistently thinking
mm.
about something, or you just want to stay in bed. The other side of the spectrum is you're
Yeah.
staying
Okay.
in bed for
Yeah.
10, 20 hours, right? You don't want to get up. Then there are
Mhm.
things with appetite. How is your appetite? Some people just don't eat when they're stressed out, or there are people like me who love to eat, and you will just be
Okay.
emotionally eating. You're just like binge
Yeah.
eating, and you're not even
Yeah.
hungry. You're trying to comfort yourself. And in
Yeah.
terms of even eating, when you're trying to comfort yourself, you see people turning to drugs. So they're starting to
Mhm.
now drink a little bit more, smoke, or things like that, because they're trying to numb the pain. They know something is
Mhm.
off, but
Yeah.
they don't want to deal with it. Then feeling like you're feeling bad about yourself, feeling like you're a failure, feeling like you've let people down, feeling like you've let your family down. You just, your self esteem is down the drain, and it's just not a 1 day, 2 day thing. It's like consistently over the last 2 weeks, you're just completely feeling like you're a failure. Then there are other things like you have trouble concentrating, or you're moving super slowly, you're speaking very slowly. It's like an effort.
Mhm.
It's like you almost feel like
Yeah.
you're completely sick. It's like you have a flu and you're just beaten down. Only that you
Yeah.
don't have any physical symptoms, but it's
Yeah.
all emotional, where you're just feeling like I just don't want to get up. Then the other thing towards, and people do feel like this, it's a lot of emotional pain, where you feel like you'll be better off dead, and some people
Mhm.
start having suicidal ideations, and
Yeah.
that's something that I dealt with actually, at a point where I was like just super frustrated, or feeling like you want to hurt yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some people, I don't know if you've seen, like you've had people like cutting on themselves or hurting themselves, and sometimes as a society we are quick to dismiss this, and we are like, oh no, this is just attention seeking behaviors. But sometimes it's not attention seeking behaviors. It's like you're feeling so much emotional pain that you're looking for a physical outlet, to say, right? And so you're not trying to kill yourself, but you're like cutting yourself to feel the physical pain. We see
Mhm.
this a lot in like teenagers, but it happens in adults too. It happened to me as an adult, as a grown up adult, or having suicidal ideations. So those are some of the things for us to look into ourselves, like if we're going through something, or even if it's your
Mhm.
friend or your family, ask those questions. Ask them, are you feeling like hurting yourself right now? Are you feeling
Mhm.
like you want to hurt yourself, or you want to end your life? Sometimes you never know who you're going to save by just being blunt and asking this kind of
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the other part, like for anxiety, so that's the scale for depression. For anxiety, it's like a lot of restlessness. You have trouble relaxing. You're worrying too much over all the time. Like, I understand you having a major interview and you're worried, but when you're consistently worried about everything, you're worried about your children, you're worried about
Yeah.
your spouse, you're worried
Okay.
about your
Yeah.
job, like you're just not relaxing. You're feeling nervous. You're having like
Yeah.
palpitations, where like you just can't relax. Something is bothering you all the time. and then you're trouble relaxing, and then you're very irritable, like everything annoys you. And that's one of the things, like, we even, as adults, as women, check yourself, like, have meetings
Mhm.
with yourself every so often, and you're like, okay, I'm getting more irritable, I am not regulated right now, maybe I need a
Mhm.
spa day, or maybe I just need an extra day of sleep. But when it's
Mhm.
consistent over a period of over 2 weeks and you're often afraid, then you could be suffering from clinical anxiety or clinical depression, and that's when it's important to seek help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need outside help. Oh, wow, that's really nice that you was shared all of that to make us aware, because I didn't realize the whole concept and the scope, and so we need to be aware of each for ourselves, but for those around us, looking out for others and realizing where we can say, "Hey," like, "How are you doing?" and checking in with others too before it gets too
Yeah,
far, before it goes
yeah,
to
yeah.
those
Checking
farther
in with
steps.
them. Yeah,
Mhm.
like checking in with your friends and just asking them, how are you doing today? And not just like, hey, I hope you're doing well, but like, really, how is your heart today? How can I help you
Mhm.
feel better? And if they're going through something, just being there for them and really coming outright and asking these things, that are really plaguing them, and knowing that nobody is a superhuman. So if somebody goes going through a divorce, that was also part of my story. Like, you've
Mhm.
gone through a
Okay.
divorce, you've
Yeah.
gone through a major child illness, you're dealing with all these difficulties, or you've like had a major relocation, it does affect your mental health. But you're not stuck in that position. You can come out of it. Yes, you can pray about it. Yes, you can fast about it, but you might need some help. Maybe talking to
Mhm.
somebody, maybe doing things like journaling, maybe trying
Yeah.
things like coloring, maybe getting outside. It's so crucial to even just get outside the four walls and just getting a little bit of sunlight and seeing how that can be really helpful, you know? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking I was gonna ask next. Okay, what are some key steps and walking forward,
I
walking out
know.
of this? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love practical solutions, because not everybody has money for therapy, right? Not
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
wants to go to a psychiatrist. So like when I talk about myself, like me walking into like a psychiatrist's office would have been so hard on me, because I'm like, oh no, like this is a taboo. So I come from a culture where mental
Mhm.
illness, like depression or anxiety or any kind of mental illness, is a taboo. Like, what
Mhm.
like you're either seen as a curse, or you're not doing enough. So there's a lot of connotation about inadequacy, like you're not doing enough,
Yeah.
you're not praying
Yeah.
enough, or what did you
Yeah.
do to your ancestors, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So just some of the things. So like if you've been consistently feeling low, like let's say somebody's watching us and they've been consistently feeling depressed and consistently like overeating, and they know something is worrying them, and they're like, okay, I feel like I'm depressed, I feel like I'm worried. The first thing to do is to just reach out to somebody, just somebody you trust.
Okay.
Reach out. And that's a platform that I offer, and I will give you my information as well.
Okay.
Just
Oh,
reach
yeah.
out and talk to somebody, right? There are a
Okay.
lot of people that you can talk to that will be able to help you, not necessarily going for counseling or therapy, though I do advocate for counseling and for therapy. But just reach out and tell somebody what's going on.
Yeah.
Other things that really help is journaling, trying to write down what's going on, trying to empty out your feelings, because what happens is that when you're in that state of mind, you're feeling so clogged up that you feel like you're isolated to the world, and that your problems are just your problems and nobody understands what you're going through.
Mm.
So getting them
Mhm.
out is really important. So journal, write down what's going on. Write, as you can use that as if you're talking to God, but journal it, just write it down. If you're not into journaling, do things like video journaling, where you record yourself
Mm.
just going like, hey, today is the 27th of May, and this is how I'm feeling, as if you're talking to somebody, even if you're
Mhm.
not talking to anybody. And you can
Okay.
delete those videos later, but those are practical things that we can do. Going outside, just going outside.
Yeah.
Um, Vitamin D deficiency, like when your vitamin D levels are low, you
Okay.
feel depressed. That's another
Yeah.
thing, like hormonal imbalances, your electrolytes when they're off, so your vitamin D levels are low, you feel almost clinically depressed. So the symptoms are almost very similar to depression. Low energy, staying in bed, just feeling lethargic, just feeling down, just feeling sad. And you will be like, what is going on with my life? And maybe it's just your vitamin D levels that are low. Checking your thyroid levels. Sometimes when
Mhm.
your thyroid levels are
Oh,
off, that could be just a reason why you're feeling depressed. So there's so many things, or maybe what
yeah,
time is it? Like, so the other thing that is so important, especially with women of childbearing age, just checking what time of the month is it. Maybe you have like ovulation period, or maybe your premenstrual cycle period where you
yeah,
often get depressed, and it happens every month, every month, every month. Now, when you know that that's going to happen and it's cyclical and it's because of hormones, you can reach out to a friend, or you already know ahead of time, like, okay, I go through a depressed period around this time, so I need to take measures to kind of get out of the house or talk to somebody. So they're just little small things that we can know. Checking on new moms, well, when they've had children, don't just assume that they're doing well. Some of them are suffering, right? So checking on
hmm
them, seeing how they're doing, giving them a day off, and just kind of helping them if you can, and not guilting people about, oh, you're not breastfeeding enough, or you should be doing,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
real, right? So just
yeah,
those
yeah,
are
for
just
sure.
some of the small things. So the journaling is really big. Doing coloring, like taking coloring books and just coloring, going outside for a walk, going outside for to just sit outside and get some sun. The vitamin D also comes and plays in the role, but those
Yeah,
are just some of the things. And just reaching out. So like, I'm in
yeah,
Houston, and one of the numbers that we use here is the crisis line, the 988, and you call, and they're going to direct you to the right person. So if you're feeling suicidal, reach out. There's so many
right.
organizations
Yeah, yeah,
that are available to help you. There's free counseling centers around where you don't even have to pay for therapy. A lot of churches offer free counseling, so there is a lot of help that's available, and people do
yeah,
not have to feel alone that they're going through depression or they're going through anxiety. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's nice. It's just a community and just a handy thing like that, just to call and to be able to right there connect with
Ex-
somebody that can walk you through it and
Exactly.
talk
Yeah.
to you.
hmm
Yeah. Oh, that's
Or
good.
talking to your primary care doctor and going for a
Mhm,
visit and having your
mhm,
labs drawn, and maybe it's just a hormonal imbalance.
mhm.
Just little
Yeah.
small things like that. Yes.
That's what I was gonna say. I like how you mentioned about the thyroid maybe being low and thyroid because that's something that I had during back I don't know, it was after my 6 or something, and I found that I was low, and I was feeling some of the things you mentioned, like, just really extra tired. Things were bothering me that really hadn't been bothering me. Just I was just like, I knew something was wrong, and then I finally got, yeah, checked out for that, and I was low on thyroid, and then I was put on Synthroid, and then recently, after my last one, I believe they've upped it up a little bit more, and now I feel, so much better. So I wondered if that was kind of one of the things that could play into it, like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
completely. Yeah. And that was
yeah,
just your thyroid levels, but you don't
yeah,
know, the Bible says that we perish because of lack of knowledge, right? And
yeah,
that's the thing. So when you mention it to somebody, and when you go talk to your primary care doctor and just see the symptoms that you're having and have labs, then you get to know what's going on. So like in your
yeah,
case, you are not clinically depressed. Like, it wasn't clinical depression, it was just your thyroid, your hormone
yeah,
imbalances, right? Or sometimes it could start as one thing. So like, for example, like I said in my case, it was postpartum depression, yes. So there was the hormonal imbalance, but then there were so many other things that are playing in the role, and then now you end up having like clinical depression. And yes, maybe
yeah,
I needed therapy a little bit longer than the common person, but it does help you. You're able to identify what the problem is. So this is how I classify mental illness, or like when you're going through depression, or when you're dealing with trauma. Imagine yourself having a wound on your body. So you have a wound on like your skin or something like that. And over time, if it's something like a boil, the skin around it may actually look normal, like it doesn't look like anything is messed up. But you have a
mhm,
pocket of pus and an infection that's underneath. And the only way that we can get to the infection is to open up the wound and to clean out the wound, maybe give you antibiotics, start dressing it, and hopefully you're gonna get to that place where you're healed, right? So that's the
Mhm.
same thing with like when you're dealing with like trauma, maybe something that happened to you when you were a child, or you've just been dealing with like a marital issue, you've gone through a divorce. If you do not address it, it continues festering, and then it's gonna show up in the ways like
Yeah.
maybe you're parenting wrong, or
Yeah.
your relationships, your future relationships are
Yeah.
breaking apart because you haven't dealt with it, right? And when you
Mhm.
go, so I've had a lot of people go like, I don't want to go see a therapist. You go see a therapist, and now they start asking you about your childhood, and it almost feels like you're getting worse before you're getting
Mhm.
better. But that is how it deals with it, because it's a wound that needs
Oh.
to be opened up, and it
Yeah.
needs to be
Yeah.
cleaned out. And it's
Yeah.
painful cleaning that out because you're feeling all the effects of it. But once it's
Yeah.
cleaned out, now you can heal, and you'll get a scar, and you can show people like, hey, I did go through this. I'm not saying that I did not get depressed. Like in my case, I'm not saying I did not get depressed. I have that scar that shows that I was depressed, but I'm no longer depressed anymore. I've healed out of it, and now I'm using what I learned from that period of my life to better the other people's life. So if you've
Mhm.
gone through like a big something that happened in your life, maybe financial loss, or you lost your parents when you were a child and you're an orphan, and that continually, plagued you, and you've never
Mhm.
been able to grieve. You get to do that grieving process when you're in therapy. So yes, it gets worse before it gets better,
Wow.
but it's
Yeah.
important to understand that.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to go in with this mentality that, oh my God, I'm just gonna go in, it's gonna be roses and butterflies and rainbow, and then I'm good, I'm healed. No, it's
Yeah.
a lot of work. We have to get involved in it. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, and it's painful, but it gets better because we are willing to do the work.
Yeah, wow, that's a perfect example you said. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
you're getting to the root of the problem. You're putting up exactly what, where did this kind of go wrong? What happened? And yeah, cleaning that
Yeah.
out and bringing
Yeah.
it to light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. So
And
help
I
is
was gonna,
available. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, I was gonna say, where does like your faith play into all this? Can you kind of talk about that? Why is it, our faith in God so important?
Oh my goodness, my faith in God is everything. I will not be where I am without God. So I am born again.
Mhm.
I'm a born again Christian. And I believe that, God can allow these things to happen to us, where your child is sick, or you've lost a child, or you've gone through a miscarriage, or you've lost
Mm.
finances, or you've gone through a divorce. And these are painful things, but He does not allow these things to happen to us for no reason. He allows them to go through us because He knows that we can handle it, and He's gonna walk through us. He's gonna
Mhm.
walk with us through that whole ordeal, and that we are gonna come out better. So He's a good Father, and
Yeah.
I would definitely not be where I am. Like I could have gone for therapy, but if it wasn't for God, I would not be healed. So it's
Mm.
it's it's part of where God is showing you the route that you need to go through, but healing ultimately comes from God. So my faith in God is completely everything. And even when we talk about
Mm.
mental health in the scripture, you will see a lot of people in the Bible. So like you will see when Elijah was being chased and got into this moment where he's like so depressed, and the angel of God will come and just give him food, and he would go to sleep, and he was like, I just he was just very severely depressed. Or you will see
Mhm.
Jonah under the tree just going
Mhm.
like, just kill me right now, like just deal with me. So you see a lot of people in the Bible
Yeah.
where they were going through some mental
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
where they're
Yeah.
yeah they're severely depressed, or all that. So it's not uncommon. So I don't want anybody to feel like they're alone, like because you're a Christian you cannot have mental illness. It's nothing uncommon. We've all gone through it. You've seen Jesus
Yeah.
in the Bible saying like Jesus was greatly moved, and he wept when he saw his friend died.
Yeah.
And this is Jesus. He's full man and full God, and knows that he's gonna raise up Lazarus, but he still felt the pain of his friend, right? So we don't have to deny the feelings that we are feeling, but God has promised that He will walk with us in the valley. He will walk with us through the fire. And we have hope because in Jeremiah 29:11, He tells us that He has a good plan for us. So, like, no
Mhm.
matter where you are, like right now in this situation, no matter if you're going through like a hardship and you're like, God, how did you allow this to happen? It is all gonna work out for you good. So my faith in God is everything. Like, yeah, I cannot do
Mm.
anything without talking about God because I am nothing without Him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Exactly. That's how I feel. I mean, I can't say give any kind of help without directing you directly to Jesus because he is the source of our peace and the true hope.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, like my shirt says,
Mhm.
no peace, no Jesus, no peace, or no Jesus, then there's no peace. When we know
Exactly.
Jesus, we can know peace. We'll have that peace that he says we keep our minds on Jesus. He keeps us in perfect peace in Isaiah 26:3.
Yeah.
And I myself have walked through miscarriage and then the loss of our 14-year-old son actually in 2017. And yeah, if it wasn't for Jesus giving me that hope and that peace that surpasses all human understanding, I don't know where I would be.
Oh my
And
goodness.
just
Yeah.
without him and trying to keep my mind, on him and when things worry and stress and all these questions would come to mind, I would just, you know, stand on the promises, quote scripture, read, get in the Bible, and these things that I know is true about God, but that He is still good. He is still in
Yeah.
control. He didn't
Yeah.
leave me when I lost my son, and He was just right there in the middle of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and just reminding, and that is so true that what you said. So I have post-it notes, and I've been having post-its like post notes all over my house, like in my room, in the mirrors, just reminding myself of who God is to me and what He has
Mhm.
promised me. Because sometimes when you're going through it, you're like, man, God, where are you? I can't
Yeah,
feel you. I
yeah,
can't see you in this situation. I feel all alone. But just to remember that God is there with you and He will never leave you and never forsake you. And I mean, even to all our listeners, like the one thing that I would want to share is that there is purpose in your pain. It doesn't make
yeah,
sense how you lose your 14-year-old son. Like, my
yeah,
heart goes out to
yeah,
you. I can't even imagine what you've gone through. But there is purpose in
yeah.
pain. So, like,
Hmm.
God will not take you through all that for no reason. There is purpose in your pain, and just keep holding on. Even when you don't see it, God is still working. Even when you don't feel it, He's still working. He's
Yeah.
right there. He's holding you.
Amen.
He's taking you through it. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I felt him. Thank you so much for that and for for us listening. And yeah, I know I definitely just felt him. God just so present right in the middle of it. And I felt as that what you said about the purpose. I could feel right when we found out that our son, had passed on and felt there was a purpose. I felt that that's the hope and the peace that kept me going, that there was a purpose. And,
yeah, yeah,
and now my heart is to try to help others that are going through things and trying to help them find that hope and hold on to that hope that we have in Jesus and just cling to
yeah.
Him. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And isn't that it's so interesting, even when you talk about peace, like I love your shirt because of what it says. I don't know how to explain, and that's why God cannot be fully explained. And we just invite everybody to
yeah,
just love on God and
yeah,
to be born again. But there is a
yeah,
peace that surpasses all understanding. That even with the loss of your son, you have the peace. Even when I've
yeah,
gone through a divorce, I have peace. There is that deeper inner peace that just cannot be explained,
yeah,
that
yeah,
God gives you, and that is true. Like, Jesus and peace, and yet you might have to still go through therapy to just deal with the emotions and the triggers that come along, because healing is not linear. Healing will come in leaps and bounds,
hmm,
but you
hmm,
still have that inner peace and you have that inner joy, knowing that there's a reason for it and it all works out for your good. you know
hmm,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
There's a new like for a while
Oh
or?
no, yeah. So with my book, I actually just launched it last month, right? So it just came out last month.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay. So
yeah.
it
So
is like
it's a
brand new.
memoir. It's a self help book,
Okay.
and it just really
Oh,
um. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
oh, I can hear you now. I can't see you.
Oh no, what happened?
Uh-oh.
Um. Oh my goodness. So yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. So maybe we continue on this way. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. I'm good. So it's a
I
memo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you.
Interesting, because I can see myself. Okay. But yeah, so it's a memoir. It was released last month. And it's a memoir as well as a self help book about mental health and how to move forward through the detours of life. That's the main purpose of the book. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it tells your story and everything, and then is there the help for others, kind of like the things you shared. So it has the things that you have been sharing with me just now.
Exactly, yeah. So it goes deeper into the stories that I've
Okay.
shared, like about going through the
Mhm.
miscarriage, about going through the sickness and
Okay.
the operation and the
Okay.
surgery, and about the divorce. It goes deeper into that,
Okay.
about the signs and
Yeah.
symptoms of depression or how we can identify these things. So yes, it goes deeper into
Yeah.
all of that.
Okay.
Yes.
You're in your journey, and
Yeah.
yeah, now being on the other side of that journey.
Yeah,
Okay.
and reminding
Oh,
everybody that just because you're
yeah.
in a situation, it's a season, but seasons do change. So
Yeah.
there's a winter season, but soon the winter will turn into a spring season, and then the spring
Yeah.
season will turn into a summer season. So don't feel like you're stuck in that situation forever. There's no permanent season in your life. You're gonna come out of it. You know?
Oh, wow. I like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
That's powerful words.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a lot of encouragement.
Yes.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
really enjoyed our conversation and all that you've shared, such valuable content, and especially joining me at the last minute like this. Earlier this morning, I had the cancellation of the guest that I did have planned for tonight that was on the schedule this time, and she had to cancel due to family emergency. And I just thank you that you were able to quickly change, to join me, and we already had you scheduled for later down the road, but in
Yeah.
June. So that's really neat.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
it's an important conversation. It's
Yeah.
Mental Health Awareness Month, so it happened at the right time. This is the time that God decided that
Yeah.
it needed to happen. So yes,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
important, yeah, very
Oh,
important
that's neat.
conversation. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. So, what other kind of things like helps you have for women a ministry or where like they can connect with you, and how do you kind of help them? Are you would you place a coach, life coach in this way, or?
Yeah, yeah. So I am a nurse practitioner and I also a
Okay.
mental health advocate, and I do the
Okay.
coaching for sure, like life coaching. And so
Okay.
yeah, you can connect with me on Facebook, Mary Nganga, or you can connect with me on Instagram at Marie Nganga with Rimari Nganga. And I'm gonna leave the links on this video as well on how you can
Okay.
connect with me. So my website is
Yeah.
www.mrj/elite.com, and that's how you can contact me in terms of like if you want any kind of coaching, any kind of resources, or you just want to share your story,
Yeah.
you just want
Oh,
somebody
wow.
to talk to. Those are the ways that you can reach me out. We can reach out for me. Hmm.
Okay. Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds good. I like that you're doing that. Make that
Yeah.
available for,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
for
and
those
just
that reach
connecting
out
you
to
to
you.
connecting
Yeah.
you to different like therapists close to where people are. And if you're in my area, I'm in Houston, Texas. If you're in my area, yes, I can
Okay.
connect you to that.
Yeah.
And not everything needs medication, but not everything just requires just a faith, right? Like we need
Yeah.
both. So
Yeah.
yes, so
Yeah.
I can clinically assess and determine what you do need for this part of life. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's good. A lot of resources sounds like and helpful
Yes.
things. So, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I've really enjoyed our time. So,
Yes.
again, you've done so much rich content for those that are going through this, and help to make others aware too of how to be aware of those in their circle and their friends and their family. So again, Mary, I really appreciate and thank you for joining me tonight.
You're
Even
very,
laughing at it.
yes, you are very, very welcome, and have yourself a good night today too as well.
All right. Well, all the best to you and everything.
Alrighty, bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye. Take care.
Mhm.